right. Next up, we've got a question from eMoney. You talk about, you're laughing. I knew you would laugh at that. Okay. You talk about 20 to 25% being aspirational in your 20s sometimes, right? And 20 to 25% savings rate is what they're referring to.
Yep.
But then the messy middle happens, and the 30s seem like it would be even harder to get to this, he says.
Yeah.
Are most people able to increase their savings rate throughout their 30s? What do you think?
Well, this is where, we talk about, everybody talks about the latte effect as one of those things sitting out there, Reby, with the coffees. And look, I want you to be disciplined with the way you spend every dollar that comes in your possession. But the messy middles is where the Lambo effect, or you think about the housing, the cars, those type of big decisions have a huge impact on the messy middle. Because, especially there's a movement to only do 15-year mortgages, only do, you have to put down 20% and all this stuff. And you're like, wow, how in the heck do you do it? That's why we've tried to have grace in our guidance, and the fact that first home that you're buying in your early 30s, it's okay if you only put down 3 to 5%. That's what, I walked around and talked to all of our financial advisors here, and I said, tell me what you did. And I asked myself what I did. And we eat our own cooking here. I want to be very transparent, because I would be a hypocrite if we did something different. Take advantage of some of those flexibility things. I think it's okay to only put down 3 to 5% on that first house. I think it's okay to do a 30-year mortgage. You can still pay it off in 10 years if you want to, or 15 years. There's nothing that says you just go pay a little bit higher of an interest rate. And with interest rates being as high as they are, I understand that's a pressure, but also think about it from a cash flow perspective as well.
I really like that you say keep your housing at 25% of your gross income.
Yeah.
That kind of changed my perspective. And then it was like, oh, and you can put 4% down and still get real estate in the messy middle. Because he's right. It does get kind of tricky as things start to pull on your pockets, if you will.
There is so many things that are becoming pulling against you. That's why, earlier we had a question on when did I finally feel comfortable financially. It wasn't until my 40s. And I think that's probably... I kind of hesitate to say that so easily, because people will be like, well, heck, if I can't feel comfortable until I cross the 40 mark, I'll be an old person at that point. No, you realize from 20 to 40s, yes, that is a fun period of time, but it's also such a crucial time from building the foundation of your financial assets. If you take that 20-year period and compare it to your life expectancy, guys, we're really asking for you to be just prioritize being good with money for about 20% of your life. If you could really be disciplined, live on less than you make, think very deliberately about every decision you make, especially the big ones on the cars, the houses, but even lifestyle, I think you'll see that you can do this. I mean, look, I've realized eMoney, a lot of people think I'm a little tone deaf, but I walk the walk. I mean, I know what it's like to come out with no money from college. I also know what it's like to have a great paying job in my 20s, but because my dad passed away, I went and started my first, venture by myself. I went out on my own, and I went from 6 figures to $17,000 a year. I know what it's like to go from it could go from broke to pretty good to broke, and then build something pretty spectacular in the background. And that's the part I just want to make sure I share that wisdom with you. And I just know how powerful the 20s and 30s are. And I know I'm asking a lot. It's no different than a personal trainer who, you're sitting there cussing. You're like, I'm tired of sweating. I don't want to do this. All I want to do is go sit down and watch TV or relax or start scrolling on my phone. And that trainer's going to be like, no, we're going to get back to it. We're going to do a circuit this time where, you're no break. We'll see how far that heart can go. That's exactly what I'm trying to do with you, eMoney, is I'm trying to stretch you while the money is so valuable from an exponential compounding side that you don't miss it. Because even with our wealthy clients, when we do our annual survey of impact from them, when we give them the open section and say, hey, what's something you wish you could tell your younger self? They always say, I wish I'd have saved more. These are successful people, but it just shows that this is something a lot of people have this regret. And I just want to make sure I'm giving you the right guidance so you do it right and you're very purposeful with every dollar that comes in your possession.
Yeah, that's really good. And I'm in the messy middle. I do think it's difficult to get to that saving percentage sometimes, but I like having the goal. I like hearing the motivation, because you're totally right that now is the time to do it, because I'm only going to be 30 once and then my wealth multiplier is going to go down. And it
doesn't have to be all or nothing. I think that next time you get a pay raise, If you get a 6% pay raise, why can't you prioritize 3 or 4% of that to go towards advancing your savings and investment? It doesn't have to be, if you're at 5 or 6% because that's what your employer told you had to do, but you want to be at 20%. There's nothing that says that next year when you get a pay raise, you can't take that to 10%. Yep. And then, but next year you get a bigger pay raise. Maybe now you've taken it to 15%. You're right. When you're 20s, it's aspirational. But in the 30s, it's something that definitely should be a priority. And it's because if you saw the drop in compounding, meaning what is the opportunity for every dollar, what they can become, it will motivate you. Go to moneyguy.com/resources and look at our money multiplier. There's a reason we talk about $1 for a 20-year-old has the potential to become $88 by 65. That same dollar, by the time you reach 30, it's $23. I mean, think that was almost a 4-fold reduction in what that money could become, because the time, that 10 years between 20 and 30 was very valuable. But 23 is still an incredible versus 7 at 40. So in that, once again, another third divided by 3 almost on how much we reduced just because we took away that component of time. So that's why we prioritize your 20s and 30s. You won't feel like you're building wealth, but that's your get rich money right there. It's just, it won't feel like that because you got to let it grow under the surface, reach that boiling point. That water doesn't look like it's doing anything until it reaches that 100 degrees Celsius or 212 degrees Fahrenheit. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff going on under the surface. So do all the actions you have to in your 20s and 30s so it actually works for you.
Yeah. Brian's been there. I'm there now. And I've just been struck more and more with how it is possible, and how I really do think people get caught up in lifestyle creep, because I see myself like inch there, like, how much is the bigger house? And I'm like, why would I do that? Then I'm gonna like undo all of the progress that I've made, because I'm gonna have to like allocate a bunch more money to a house, and it's silly. It's a little bit silly because
well, there's a lot of smart people that are trying to create products that you only have to spend $100 and $200 more to have that luxurious lifestyle that you think everybody really wants to see you have.
Yeah.